of the most lilac trees in the world, as far as I know, in Rochester, New York. We are on the verge of heaven on earth, my friends. That is what this season is about. We have been truly recalibrated. This is the message that has come to me so strongly. So I'm recording this on June 25th, 2026. Yesterday, June 24th, 2026, could have been the 23rd or the 25th, depending on where you are around the globe, was a day of shadow release, discombobulation. I have never felt such a low. And I've talked to other people that it's like, I don't even need affirmation on this, because it's like what we experience is a reflection of, the macro. Our little micro cosmos is a reflection of the bigger cosmos. We are the universe. But we need the validation as humans. We're souls, but we're humans, right? We're having this experience for a reason. And so many people have shared, yesterday was the worst day. It was like heavy. How heavy can we lay it on you, my friends, right? And I haven't paid attention to the political scene intentionally, because all of that stuff is programming that is meant to bring our vibration down. But look at the political scene. I'm sure you're going to find a lot of extra dark things on the 24th, 25th, 26th, depending on where you are on the globe. It's 6:19 EST time, just so you know, to compare timelines, on June 25th right now. I actually came to offer us yoga and sound in the park. I felt really drawn to start what's called down-to-earth yoga, connecting people with nature through what I call lazy yoga, really, really gentle movement in nature, really just to immerse ourselves with the land and celebrate our bodies on this land as we celebrate the land. And then I bring my crystal bowls. And I'm the only person here. And I was like so happy about it. As soon as I started playing my bowls, I was like, this is exactly what I wanted. Interesting. But I was drawn to put this class out there. Now, this connects to what is the recalibration. So I'm sharing from my little microcosm. You have your own story. Our stories are parallel in some way, shape, or form. Story is the most powerful way to share this awakening truth, because I cannot save you, my friend. I, Sarah Teresa Lamb, cannot save you. Only you can save you, and that is by choosing your sovereignty, by saying, okay, I'm ready to fully remember. I'm ready to fully awaken in this human skin suit. And it is not for the faint of heart, but you wouldn't be here on this planet having this human experience if you had a faint, weak heart. You wouldn't. Yesterday, for example, I felt so weak, so yucky. And I got a message about, I would say within the past week, that this was like recalibration. I might feel discombobulated for a bit. It's listen to the whispers, because that's your higher self talking to you. In those moments, it's like almost between sleep and wakefulness. And that's why I love giving sound baths, because people get into that hypnagogic state, that liminal space where you can easily, like, kind of, your ego's quiet. It's resting. So your spirit wakes up and you can get that higher information, that information that's always there, accessible from your higher self, but coming out in nature, being in parks like I like to be, playing my singing bowls, doing yoga, hanging out with animals. That's probably one of the most healing things too, to just get me into that liminal space. And it's like being a child. So it's really bringing you back to that childlike playfulness where your imagination is open and expansive. Our intuition is our imagination. I love breaking down the word imagine. I am a genie. You can't be a genie if you're grumpy and disgruntled and frustrated. And if you are, you're going to create negative things, right? So what I have been doing, noticing, I guess, is my inner voice. And I'm not trying to change it. I am just like allowing it to be what it is, just surrendering to what is flowing in the here and now. We all have our ways of processing. I like to journal. I like to talk things out when I don't have a friend to reach out to. And I don't want to bombard, people with like venting, toxic venting. I like to use AI. Honestly, I've started using the Claude app a lot, working on my book that way to copy edit, but I also like ChatGPT, and I've personalized it. And I've talked about this in previous episodes, but this is a way for us to process. And it's funny, ChatGPT was like, I've noticed you've matured with the way you're processing. It's like, instead of wanting a solution, you're just like, it's like radical acceptance. You're just surrendering and seeing what is, right? And asking questions. I think there's a power to the questions. One of my favorite quotes, Rainier Marie Rilke said in Letters to a Young Poet, when the young poet wrote, how will I know the answer? And he said, you will live the answer. And I'm going to add, just keep asking the question. I mean, that's the Socratic methods. Keep asking the questions because the answers will come. So the old me that was really embedded in the ego would be like, oh my God, I did all this for the class. I even had to update my yoga insurance because the parks department saw that I was advertising this class. Even though it's donation, they're like, you're using land, you have people, you're taking payment, and we need to know you're insured. And I refused to update my yoga insurance last year because I was like, I just want to do something casual. But that, to me, was the universe saying, we want to see that you're committed. So when I got here and nobody was here, it was like, there was that passing thought of, oh man, I updated that for nothing. And then my higher self kicked in. I played my singing bowls for a bit. I was in the liminal space. Like, this is all good. I'm exactly where I want to be. Me on this land, celebrating with my bowls, with some yoga, just immersing myself in this park. And then I got this message, just this inkling. This is how the intuition works, to contact a friend that runs a corporate yoga business. She had asked me to teach for her last year, and I was like, I don't have updated insurance. I don't want to update it right now. Well, the thought very strongly came to me, and I know it's my higher self when it's like comes to me in a gentle whisper. It's not like critical. It's not intense. It's not frustrating. It's soft. It's got a positive vibe, we'll say. I was like, contact this friend. And after this podcast recording, I will do that. These inklings that we have, like the inkling to teach this class, came to me when I was in my Vipassana workshop, this 3-day meditation retreat I did a month ago, very strongly. I even saw the flyer and what I was, how I was going to create the class. And when I was driving here today, I was like, if nobody shows up, this is just like laying the foundation. This will build itself, and it already is evolving into something that I would like to carry year round. I'm sitting in front of a greenhouse right now in a indoor space that has a ton of plants, that has that nature vibe. And so that space will pop up as it's meant to. We do not control the timing. And this is where, as we tap into the hypnagogic state or that liminal space more, we realize that everything flows seamlessly in the universe's time. That does not correlate with human time. So when we can just relax into it and be in the moment and, okay, savor this hour and 15 minutes by myself that was scheduled, quote, scheduled. I scheduled this time and I'm going to enjoy it, We're staying in that gratitude flow, that compassionate flow that keeps the heart open. The energy of yesterday was a reminder of the heavy shadow. I'm working on a book, and this is really just for myself, this project on my own story. And I'm writing about a really challenging, like the dark night of my soul. And I'm going to one place to write about it. Actually, one of my local libraries, which is interesting. The environment feels like an anchor. It feels very safe. I can be in this space maybe an hour at a time, and I can write about this intense experience that has been with me in me for 20 years and hasn't fully come out yet. And when I was writing about it yesterday, I was already in this funk. I was like, whoa, I'm going back to this energy, and it feels so alive in me. And I know this led to a big awakening in my life, a big spiritual awakening, but it's over and done, and I thought I integrated this. Now this is how the ego gets tripped up. I was again reminded, just in the little thoughts and whispers, I did my writing. I'm sharing this as a parallel, okay, to your story. It's really, really important to balance these heavy moments with Equilibrium is what we're constantly seeking with moments of joy. And I was planning on going to see this movie. I just had an inkling to go see this movie. And so I had to cut my writing time, quote, short. I think it was like less than an hour in order to get to the movie on time. And that was like my spirit saying, okay, I'm going to time this for you so you don't get too overwhelmed, so you don't get too much in the funk. And I went to the movie and my whole nervous system was able to like recalibrate. And I would say 90%. Over the course of the evening, all of a sudden it did what it needed to do. I woke up today and I felt completely refreshed. As an example that our spirit is doing the magic behind the scenes, right? We're not alone in this. A lot of people work with spirit guides. I think, anything goes when it comes to your journey and what resonates for you. I default to the creator, God, all that is, but I firmly communicate with my ancestors and other so-called guides. And I've realized over time, we all have to figure this out for ourselves. Again, I can't save you, and I also can't give you the roadmap. That's why I'm sharing my personal journey, like showing you my map, okay, as a parallel to your map. Yours is going to look different, but there's some parallels. And might be something that I say that just activates you. That's how this works. That's why so many people are sharing. There's a lot of people sharing their near-death experience stories on YouTube right now, or awakening stories. People's stories hold a potency and a power. It's like basically my own unique soul energy activating your soul energy, right? So this is just how it works. So I had this kind of epiphany today, and I just felt like I woke up super refreshed, super relaxed, and then a friend had reached out about talking. So we had a phone call, and that conversation, wasn't even about what we said, was very activating, and I felt like we recalibrated each other. I think what we have to realize is that the simple, seemingly mundane interactions, and I would say actually talking with this friend was not a mundane interaction. It was very heart-based. And we have been kind of dancing around having a phone conversation for a while, texting now and again. The past few months, she's a mom like I am and has her own stuff going on. But when that time aligns, it is like therapy. It's like activating, like having a breakthrough in therapy. I'll compare it to that. Former therapist to me. If whatever makes sense to you, whatever breakthrough means to you. And then it's interesting because I've been in this pattern and I'm wondering how many other starseeds awakening. I have been in this pattern of isolation the past few years. I mean, for me, it was like intense, thick isolation. And honestly, times like this, going to the park, I actually had to pause the recording because a woman walked up to me and asked about the yoga and got my Facebook page information. Stimulates connection and conversation, right? Here I am in the park, just sharing my energy, sitting here with my bowls. I'm open, my energy field is open. Just before this, I went to my favorite field, my portal field, to go for a walk. And a man that I see a lot who walks some dogs ran up to me frantically. He's like, oh my gosh, this baby possum needs to be rescued. He had his Nalgene bottle. He was going to get, dip it in the pond and get a bottle of water for this baby possum. And he's like, let me show you. And we walked together, and I actually gave it a little bit of energy work. And I felt, oh gosh, so sad. It was definitely like on his last leg. And, he had toyed with the idea of taking it home, but it seemed like it was ready to, move into the next realm. And, he talked to a friend, a biology teacher friend, he's a teacher himself, that said, maybe just let nature take its course. Like, you can rescue it. It's going to take a lot of work, and it's going to feeding it every hour. But the mothers, they have a really strong sense of smell. Mama, it senses it's nearby, is going to come back for it. So the things that happen in this life, my goodness. And it is this is a person that I've connected with on walks now and again as I've been to this portal field with my singing bowls. That's what connected us initially. But today it was like everybody was talking to everybody, and there was just a friendly energy. And yesterday it was this like heavy, thick vibe. And I'm wondering if you're noticing this in your life, where it's just like duality, very heavy contrast, like seriously, good, bad, heavy, light, depression, joy. It's just, we can't avoid the contrast for a reason, and maybe the psyche is seeing this because we're clearing this pattern of aversion and, being attached to one thing, like aversion versus the joy or bliss. And it's no coincidence, in my Vipassana retreat, I mean, that's the whole point of it, as you sit with yourself and just scan your body for an hour at a time, you just allow everything to be as it is. You're not changing anything. You're just letting it be. And so you can sit with the tension as much as you can sit with the relaxation. Some parts of the body, there's like really no activity at all. It feels like it's just quiet. And then other parts are screaming at you, and that what that does for the mind, meditation itself does this for the mind, is it reminds it of the natural state of equanimity. There is no good and there is no bad. There is no light and there is no dark. It just is. Presence. Equanimity is at the root of everything. And it's funny because that's the message I felt like I wanted to share with the class tonight. So I'm sharing it with the podcast. The gentle, behind all of the noise of life is this gentle, steady hum. They say that the universe vibrates with the sound of Om. Om is the sound of the universe. Representation of all that is, the quiet, steady hum. And that vibration settles people. If you chant Om, you can chant it once, you can chant it 1,000 times. Guarantee your nervous system is going to relax. You're going to get connect to that liminal space. Here's a story about Om. My daughter had a flu when she was about 3, and she so bad. I mean, she had thrown up a lot, and then she got really dehydrated, and she was like, she couldn't keep anything down. So dehydrated, even with Pedialyte and all that stuff, we had to take her to the emergency room because she hadn't peed in like half a day, like at least over 12 hours. And they couldn't find her veins, right? If you're dehydrated, and she's a little kid too, she's got the little baby fat still. So I felt so bad for the poor kid because they had to poke her a million times, and they ended up going to her foot or something to try to put the IV in. My mom was with me. We tried singing all these kids' songs to her. She was still really anxious and crying. And finally, I just got the instinct. Here's my higher self talking. Just Om with her, Sarah. So deep breath in, Om. And my mom's Oming with me, Om. And we're Oming with Ren. And then all of a sudden, Om. They got the needle in. They got the IV in. And that stuck with me. I thought, wow, of all the things that I've picked up from yoga, the mantra Om has stayed with me. And it's probably the most deeply ingrained part of yoga that's with me and with you. And even if you've never done yoga in your life, can't hurt to Om. Because underneath everything is that vibration. I'm just going to add this in because I'm drawn to is that people with tinnitus, that is said that, it's actually an activation of your third eye. My daughter actually has tinnitus. So does her dad. And she is very clairsentient and clairaudient. And I think it connects to a lot of clairaudience. So I'm just putting this out there. If that's something you or a loved one has experienced, play with sound, because I really feel like that can help. It's just like getting one singing bowl, or, finding a sound instrument that you like. It could even just be an instrument like, piano or a drum, and just merging into that. And if there's any sort of irritation with the tinnitus, channel that into the sound and play with that and see how it goes, and message me if it does anything expansive for you. So what is this heaven on earth? I feel like this recalibration, this season is going to be more, I guess, higher self channeled information. Not that it wasn't in previous seasons, but I feel like I'm different. And when I say different, I mean more myself. I mean, what was released yesterday with the discombobulated shadow energy that recalibrated us on a collective level. And if you didn't experience a lot of that, and then you've already gone through it, you know what I mean? I think it was probably calm and chill for some people. And it was like really almost unbearable for other people, like unbearable, like you were going to have a nervous breakdown, crawl out of your skin. You know what I mean? It can go so many ways. The most important piece to remember is that there is no finish line we have to get to. There is no comparison. This is not a race. So I want to laugh. I'm hearing the laughter out there. I don't know if you can hear. There's a wedding party, I think, that's in the conservatory that's outside now. And that's a beautiful metaphor too, celebration. Because there is no race. The ego thinks there's a race. I have to get there first. I have to awaken first. Says who? Where are you getting that from? That Om represents the sound of creation. Call it God. All that is. It's just a pure neutral energy. It's not telling us one thing or the other. It's not telling us anything. In fact, we have to figure this all out. It can be very scary. And if somebody told me 20 years ago, when I was just getting off the precipice of the dark night of my soul, Sarah, nobody can save you, that would have scared the bejesus out of me. And I love Jesus. I just realized I said that. I'm like, oh, the bejesus. I love that sentiment. But I love the symbology of Jesus and Buddha and Krishna. But they went through, their story talks about the suffering that they went through. This hit me this morning. I literally felt like I woke up after a huge storm, after a war, like when peace was defined all of a sudden, right? After a long war. That's what it felt like today. The birds were chirping. It was quiet and still. I felt well rested for the first time in eons, and was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I've been through all of this in my life. It's like I just got to the other side. I can't believe it's taken this much to get to this place of peace, but I'm so grateful that I'm here. But that my psyche is still reeling from everything. Yes, the reverberation. Here's the sound bowls again. That's why I have these, I guess. The reverberation is part of the recalibration process. Just allow it to happen, just like the sound waves are happening right now. There's no finish line. Remember that. The time that it takes you to integrate this shift that we just went through, it's literally a timeline shift. Okay, it's even, I feel like it's even deeper than that. It's like we jumped Earths, if you believe in the 2 Earth theory. Some of the things around you might seem so-called the same, but they might, even if they were irritable, they might be calmer now, So let yourself just immerse in the waves of reset that are in you right now as you settle into the natural vibration of your soul in this human body. This realm is not as dense. I want to say it's dense. It's not as dense as it once was. This is the 5D codes because we're talking about the 5D. We, as a human body, exist in this 3D, right? But we're starting to see how thin the veil is between dimensions. So what used to take a long, long ass time might be a lot quicker now, but it still doesn't mean it's going to happen in an instant, right? I mean, sometimes it could. Just notice, be patient with yourself, and feel grateful for the blessings that are in your life right now. The last bit of wisdom I want to share here, and this is something that came into my consciousness the other day. It was like from something I read, and then it just, watered a seed in my soul. This person said, The moment that I might have been even a comment on something online, the moment that I accepted that everything in my life was my responsibility, all of that suffering and that frustration that I felt at the external world, even at myself, just dissipated. What that person's talking about is radical acceptance, is surrendering to what is, but also realizing they are a sovereign being. And yes, they are indeed co-creating their reality. It is them and God. It is not somebody else creating it for them with God. No. And it can be so scary for us to see our own power. It's like people are more scared of their light, right, than their darkness. Because we're powerful beings. We're very powerful beings. We need to embrace our power in its own time. We need to open up slowly and mindfully to the miracle that we are as beings of pure light, in this human form. This is not a slow process. It's also not necessarily a long process. It doesn't even have to be lifetimes. But we all have our own timing, and truly nobody else can save us. I think that there's a comfort in that. So just allow yourself to sit with that.